stuff, and it made me think of Martinsburg, West Virginia, which is Danny Casolaro. Danny Casolaro, it's almost exactly the Zanesville thing. Danny Casolaro, reporter, goes out, leaves right where I'm standing to go out to Martinsville, West Virginia, to go meet a contact late at night, and then is found the next morning with his wrist slit in a bathtub. So, because he was reporting on, guess what? Iran-Contra and the CIA dealing drugs. Weapons one way, drugs the other way. So, you know, wow, how things, you know, I mean, I'm probably standing exactly where he waited for the train to go to Martinsville. I was trying to go to Martinsville today to sleep in the same exact room. The only problem is they don't run the weekend train to Martinsville. So, anyway, that's a little disappointing, but we'll make do. Anyway, getting to Imran's dirty dozen, or Imran's 12 employees. So, part of the problem here is you have to wait for a certain amount of facts to come through. You know, like the 123 email come through with the secret emails accounts, and you have to have the different police reports come through for people to see those things, to see the pattern here, that this person is creating fake stuff, that Imran is creating fake stuff, and he's taking care of his homies, his boys, B-O-Y-Z, in this process. Now, if you start creating fake employees, and I think he's a rat liner when he's living down in Manitoba. He's just doing his thing. Normally they bring a guy in, you get your cars, you know, you start with a bag of basmati rice, you get your steak, basically, in your little drug thing, right? And then you start giving out your drugs and so forth to get your little car ring going, or whatever rat line you're running in your apartment complex. So you start out just kind of like small, but then you work your way up as you get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different locations to where now you become like the officer, and then you kind of move into intelligence work. It's the same as kind of the military, where you're working as kind of an enlisted guy, then you become a non-commissioned officer when you kind of get in charge of 5 or 6 or 8 people. Then you move up to being an officer when you're in charge of non-commissioned officers. And I believe the way it worked was he started in Alexandria on the Manitoba, and then kind of worked, his territory was the 5 different campuses of the Northern Virginia Community College. So he started in the Alexandria, then he did the Woodbridge for a while, then he did Annandale, then he did the Manassas one, and then there's one other one that I'm forgetting, Annandale, Springfield. So he kind of worked those 5, and you go from place to place to place. You kind of set up, it's kind of like being a new McDonald's manager. You set up the franchise, then you set up the next franchise, you set up the next franchise. Now, remember, he's working in Congress this whole time. So this is where I think the employees are coming from. Each person, each non-commissioned officer that's getting set up is getting a phone, getting set up in to run their little business there in Virginia. Now, I don't know exactly how this is all going to work, but the idea is once he becomes an officer, kind of when he's 2009 is when he gets the posh home, the 5-bedroom home in Hawkshead, and that's kind of when Imran becomes an officer. Now, I don't know if it's because of Anthony Weiner leaving or what exactly, or Hillary Clinton becoming, in 2009, becoming Secretary of State, but he kind of becomes an officer in 2009. And that's when he starts doing this intelligence work, where he's not configuring the phones anymore, he's not doing the rat line stuff anymore. He's kind of made it. He's now going to the UAE balls, you know, he's hanging out with all the ambassadors, he's doing the $3,000 a night strip clubbing. He's kind of, you know, moved into the jet set. He's doing the high-end cars now. But once you give, and again, once you give somebody like that access to create employees in the human resources system of the Congress, which is PeopleSoft. Remember, if I create a new employee in PeopleSoft, I automatically reissue a device for that person, a BlackBerry for that person. I automatically become eligible for credit union loans for that person. So if I start getting checks and receiving checks, and all I need to do is get some person to cash those checks as that person. And those are my non-commissioned officers, or homies, or boys, or whatever you want to call them. I need somebody to engage in cashing those checks. That's the key. Or just even opening a deposit, and then we direct deposit into those accounts. And the way they do it in PeopleSoft is you have an employee, once they leave the company, boom, they leave the company. I deactivate them, Now, because a lot of contractors come and go, they keep the records in PeopleSoft, and then I just reactivate it. Now, that person didn't come back here, so let's say it's Quasi Mensa is the guy who I want to reactivate, just to take a name out of the blue. So I take a guy who's supposed to be 62 in the Congress. Let's say he left when he was 55. I deactivate him, right? And then I reactivate him as Quasi Mensa, right? And then all I need to do is find some guy who's come in from overseas who's willing to take the name Quasi Mensa. Quasi Mensa is now getting checks, and Quasi Mensa just has to sign the check. Or Quasi Mensa actually has to just open the account. So as these employees retire from the Congress, all I need to do is find people that are being brought in from, operatives being brought in from my network, from other countries or whatever, and then I just bring them in, and now we start cashing checks. So this could be why we can't seem to find a picture of Quasi Mensa, or any of the other people that look like they've left the Congress, then come back to the Congress and restart it as employees. This is going to be the secret of how Imran's doing this. And I believe Imran, now people would say before, 2 days ago, people would have said, oh, Imran couldn't be Omar. That couldn't happen. There's no way